Awesome. Okay. But anyway, hi everyone. Welcome to today's lesson, and I will be your teacher, Ruler 15. And today we are going to cover conjunctions, which, as someone posted here in the class's chat channel, is one of the 8 parts of speech in the English language. um, but first, can anyone tell me what a conjunction is?
I don't know.
Like two sentences connection. There's a single word with conjunction. Maybe, I don't know.
No, that's correct, yes. You use a conjunction to connect 2 words, phrases, or clauses. So, for example, um, let me type a sentence. Okay, so we have the sentence here. Oh, sorry, I did not mean to type that. Okay, so here we have the sentence, this book is heavy and hard to read. So the and here is a conjunction that connects 2 words or a group of words, heavy and hard to read. And another example would be a conjunction that connects phrases. Okay, so let's do this. So let's see. The key. I'm trying. Hold on.
Juan asked interesting question.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so for this sentence we have the keys are on the table and in the purse. So here we have and joining two phrases, on the table and in the purse. So we have 2 prepositional phrases here, and is joining the 2. And for clauses,
İngilizce mi söylüyor? Hop, selamun aleyküm, nasılsınız, iyi misiniz?
Don't worry.
okay, so for clauses, let's see, hold on.
Ceyhun. Ceyhun.
Okay, I've already said this before. Please mute your mics because it's really hard to talk over all this noise.
I would mute him.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We'll handle that.
Okay, so okay. So for clauses, oops, let me not use that. For clauses, I am 20. Here we have a sentence. I am 25 years old and he is 30. So here we have and joining 2 clauses. The first clause is I am 25 years old.
Selamünaleyküm arkadaşlar, nasılsınız? Ben deyim, çok teşekkür ederim.
Okay. Anyway, so the first clause here is I am 25 years old, and the second clause here is he is 30.
Adrian.
Oh, my keyboard, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I can mute them, yeah. But I mean, it's okay.
Yeah,
There's no
that's a
noise
good
right
idea.
now.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. No problem.
It's okay. So going back to what I was talking about. So conjunctions can connect words, phrases, or clauses. Um, let's see. So now that you have a basic idea of what conjunctions do, connecting two parts of a sentence, we have three types of conjunctions. We have, let me type this out. We have coordinating conjunctions. Oops, sorry. Yeah, we have coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, and correlative conjunctions. So those are the three types of conjunctions in the English language: coordinating, subordinating, and correlative. Let's cover the coordinating conjunctions first. So let me look at my outline. Okay, so before we cover coordinating conjunctions, let's review what an independent clause is. Okay, so a clause is, if you remember, a clause is something, a unit that has a subject and the predicate. So, for example, this okay, so this is, my phone is in my room. This is an independent clause. Well, let me talk about what a clause is first. So a clause here, we have a clause here. My phone is the subject and is in my room is the predicate. So let's see. So let me type that out. Okay. Okay. So my phone is the subject and is in my room is the predicate. And the predicate is basically everything that comes after the subject. The verb, the prepositional phrases, all that stuff. So that's what a clause is. It has a subject and a predicate, usually. An independent clause is a clause that can stand on its own. In other words, it forms a complete thought. So I already typed up an example up there. My phone is in my room. That's an independent clause because it can stand on its own. It's a complete thought and a complete sentence. But here we have another type of clause. So let's see. This is what we call a dependent clause. After he went home. This is a dependent clause. It's a clause because the subject here is he, and let's see, the predicate here is went home. So it's a clause just like the other one, but the difference here is that after he went home is not a complete thought. It doesn't make sense on its own, so you can't just use it by itself, at least not without additional context. But even then, it still wouldn't be a complete thought. So you can't just say after he went home and call that a complete sentence. It's not. So that's why they're called dependent clauses, because they need independent clauses to make a complete thought. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Predicate has verb and complement. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so now that we've covered what an independent clause and a dependent clause is, let's cover coordinating conjunctions. So, we have 7 coordinating conjunctions in Oh, well, thank you, Lil McKee. Okay, anyway.
You're
Okay, anyway, we have 7 coordinating conjunctions in the English language. Can anyone tell me what they are?
Um, hmm.
Is that up for place? For place or time?
No, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a type of conjunction.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, the the 7 coordinating conjunctions are and, but, let's see, or, for. Yeah, like and, but, you get the idea. So they're and, but, or, for, yet, nor, and, so. So these are the 7 coordinating conjunctions in the English language. No, after is a subordinating conjunction, not a coordinating conjunction. Okay,
Is either one of these conjunctions coordinating?
yes.
I mean, either.
Um, you're asking if either is one?
Yeah.
No, well it is, but it's not coordinating. That's correlative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is though a coordinating conjunction?
Is what?
Though.
No, that's subordinating.
Ah, okay.
And because it's subordinating too. And yeah, as someone else said in the chat, fanboys is an acronym of coordinating conjunctions. So that's how you can remember the conjunctions. Okay, so let me go ahead and cover these quickly. There are many conjunctions, so I'm not going to go into in depth in every single one of them. So let's cover, but for the coordinating conjunctions, I can cover each one. Okay, so, okay,
You meant not, right?
nor? Yes. Yeah,
But
that's one of
no.
them.
Oh, what does that mean?
Well, I'll cover that in a moment. But first I want to cover the ones that I listed before it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about and. Um, so and, so let's talk about and but. And or. So and, but, and or. So with and, if you have a set of 2 or 3 choices, and implies that all those choices apply. So, for example, I like I like apples, oranges, and bananas. And implies that all of these apply. Or, on the other hand, implies that only one of the choices applies. So, let's say we can eat pizza or chicken for lunch. So here, or is implying one or the other. So you can have pizza or chicken, but not both. And but implies, okay, so but implies like some sort of contrast, if that makes sense. Here, let me type up an example.
Is the comma before and necessary?
It depends on what and is doing in the sentence. And but that is actually a good question. I'll cover that in a moment. Okay.
Hey,
Hello. Okay, so okay, wait, hold on. I don't like that example. Okay, let's have this sentence. I'll go to the movies, but I won't sit next to her. So yeah, as someone else said, it's kind of like a compromise thing, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah,
the person.
so it's kind of like that, where one thing will happen, but if that happens, then something else won't happen. So that's how but works, if that makes sense. It's a bit tricky for me to explain, but yeah, that's essentially how it works. Okay, but as I said, these are coordinating conjunctions, which connect two independent clauses. So let me write this down. Coordinating conjunctions
Hey,
connect two
the
independent.
person who tries to struggle with the unchanging logic of nature means that he is struggling with him, that we will be grateful for the logic that brought himself to life as a human being, fighting white nature.
Okay, that doesn't really have anything to do with the lesson. Okay, so as I was saying, coordinating conjunctions connect two independent clauses. So, and we covered and, but, and or. So let me show examples of these three conjunctions connecting two independent clauses. So, okay. So for this
Are
sentence, yes?
I was wondering if independent clauses are always complete sentences.
Yeah, they are. They are. Because they can stand on their own. That's why they're called independent clauses. So that's a good question. And yeah, independent clauses are always complete sentences. Okay, so for this example, he works in the morning and I work at night. So here, and is a coordinating conjunction because it connects two independent clauses. He works in the morning and the clause I work at night. And but works like this too. So another example would be, so here we have he likes spaghetti, but I like rice. So again, we have two independent clauses. The first one is he likes spaghetti. The second one is I like rice. And here we have but as a coordinating conjunction connecting these two independent clauses. And for or, we have this.
Will be here sometimes present perfect or present simple class.
Well, I'm not really talking about that right now.
Yeah, but sometimes I.
I am a present perfect.
Okay, so So for this sentence I just typed, it says we can go to the beach, or we can stay here, or we can just stay here and watch TV. So here we have two independent clauses joined by or. We can go to the beach, and the clause we can just stay here and watch TV. So that's how and, but, and or works. Now let's talk about for, yet, nor, and so. Okay, so let's talk about yet. Okay, so here, let me type up an example.
What? Why is there so much fucking people over here?
Good question.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah, like I've never had this many people in this class.
What is this all about? Like, is there like a guy that's actually a teacher here that will learn English to other people, or why?
Oh, I'm the teacher of this lesson. I'm not a teacher in real life, but I'm a teacher of this, one of the teachers here.
Oh, I can help you. Like, if you would like to. Like, I'm not too advanced with English, but we'll discuss this somewhere else.
Okay. Um,
What was that?
I honestly don't know. Okay, so I would say that yet works in a similar manner to but. So we arrived at the house on time for the party, yet there was no one there. So yet is implying some sort of contrast here, if that makes sense. So let's talk about for. Actually, I'll say for last. Let's talk about nor. Yeah, let's talk about nor. Let's see.
I got a question. What that mean? Guys?
What does what?
What does get means in this case? Like
Like
we
something
arrive
that
at the
didn't
house on
happen?
it.
I don't know.
Yeah, what that means?
You mean yet?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well,
What
here,
does get mean? Yeah.
yet here implies something that happened despite the fact that, well,
Okay,
no, let me
guys, I
explain
have
it a
to
different
go.
way. Huh?
I have to go. Have a great day. Bye.
Oh, goodbye. Okay,
I'll be in on the another class.
okay, see you later. Okay, so as I said, yet is implying some sort of contrast, like something that happened even though it shouldn't have. So we arrived at the house on time for the party, yet there was no one there. There should have been people there, but there weren't any people there. So that's why we use the yet to show um, two events to show that two events should not have occurred together, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's talk about what was I? Oh yeah, we'll talk about nor.
Hello, what's up?
Hello.
What's going on there?
I'm teaching a class on conjunctions. Okay. You have not. Okay, I'm trying to type up an example here. Okay. So here we have. Let's use. Okay, so nor here is a bit tricky. So okay, so nor is it's you use nor to connect two negative ideas, if that makes sense. So here we have you have not completed the assignment nor have you finished your project. And the tricky thing about nor is that sometimes it will require an inverted clause. Like here in the second part of the sentence we have you finished your project instead of you have finished your project. So with nor, we invert the first verb and the subject to make that second part of the sentence. Okay. But yeah, you're using nor to connect two negative ideas. So this person did not finish their assignment and they didn't finish their project. Okay. Now let's talk about so. Well, nor is also correlative, but I'll get to correlative in a moment. Okay. So now let's talk about so, the conjunction so.
I have a question about nor.
Yes?
So, for example, I say, neither I nor him have or has taken the train. Which should be there? Which one should be there? Have or has?
It depends on what subject is closer to the verb. So in this case, since I
So,
is the since I is
neither I nor him.
it really should be neither I nor he. But if he is the second one, you would use has. If I is the second one, you would use have. So it depends on what's closer to the verb. But I'll get to that in a moment. Okay, what was I? Oh yeah, let's talk about so. Okay, so the conjunction so is used to indicate the consequences of something, if that makes sense. So let me give you an example. Hmm. Okay. So for this example, we have, I finished my assignments early so I could hang out with my friends. Here, so is implying that one action happened as a result of another. So you can hang out with your friends because you finished your assignments early. So you did this in order for this to happen. So that's how so works. Okay. Let me see if I can find another example for so. Okay, here's another example. So is equal to so that. Yeah, they're similar. I wouldn't say they're equal, but they're similar. But they work a bit differently. Okay, so here we have another example. I went to the library so I could have some peace and quiet. So you did one thing for another thing to happen. So that's another use for so. Okay. Well, so and therefore can be similar, but I wouldn't say like that. I wouldn't say that they're quite the same. In order to is just wordy, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It depends. Some people don't like that, others do. But let's see. Where was I? Oh yeah, for. Let's talk about for. That's the last one. So for is with the last coordinating conjunction we're going to be talking about. Okay, so for works in a similar manner in terms of meaning. For is similar in meaning to because. So here we have an example. I cannot help you, for I am too busy. So here we're using for to indicate a reason for something. You can't help someone because you're too busy. So for works in a similar manner to because. But the thing about for is that it's not really used that commonly as a coordinating conjunction. If you use it, you might sound a bit literary. So we don't really use for like that very much, unless it's for literary effect. So, but the other conjunctions we still very much use, but we don't really use for that much as a coordinating conjunction. But that really is all the coordinating conjunctions. So again, to review, we have and, but, or, for, yet, nor, and so. Okay. Okay, and before we move on, I need to point out one more thing. So, when you have two independent clauses, you have a compound sentence. Two independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. So remember, a compound sentence is made up of two independent clauses that are joined by a coordinating conjunction. And we've been making compound sentences. But to once again provide another example, okay, here's an example of a compound sentence. My brother is taller than me, but I am older. So here we have two independent clauses. My brother is taller than me, and I am older. And they're joined by a coordinating conjunction, but. So let me just type something. Let's see, and yes. Let's see here. Okay, so that's how you would label the parts of that sentence. So that's the first independent clause, and then that would be the second independent clause, and then they're both joined by a conjunction, a coordinating conjunction, but. Let me edit that a bit. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. And a simple sentence is let's see. A simple sentence is just one single independent clause. And just for your reference, a simple sentence is just one single independent clause. So for example, I ate lunch. That's a simple sentence. It has a subject and a verb. And a direct object too, but you don't really need a direct object all the time. So that's what a simple sentence is. So now we're going to go on to subordinating conjunctions. But before we do that, does anyone have any questions so far?
Yes, I have a question. So sometimes you don't need a coordinating conjunction to join two independent clauses, right? So for example, let me think. So if I say lions are not mammals, they are, I don't know, something else. So in there you just need a comma, right?
You need a comma and a conjunction.
Also, it's necessary to put a conjunction there?
Yeah, because if you just join, and actually this is a really good question. Yeah, let me type up an example. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, so here we have this example. I want to go to the water park, comma, he wants to go to the movies. Okay, so you can't separate two independent clauses like that with just a comma. This is not grammatical. You need a conjunction. So here you have, so here it would be necessary to use a coordinating conjunction. So you can't really join two sentences with just a comma. That's what's called a comma splice, and it is not grammatical in English. So let's correct the sentence I just typed. So we changed it to, I want to go to the water park, but he wants to go to the movies. So here you need a comma and a conjunction for the sentence to be complete. So no, you can't just have a conjunction, a comma, sorry. You can't just have a comma. Okay, does anyone else have any other questions before I move on to subordinating conjunctions? Oh, the mistake is called comma splice. Yes?
I want to ask, when should we like put a comma before but, and when should we not put a comma before it?
Okay, that's a good question.
Because
actually.
it confuses me.
Yeah.
It confuses me a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so you put a comma before. Okay, whose mic is on? I can hear an echo.
It's Fatma.
Okay,
Echo's gone.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay, so someone asked a good question. So whether or not you put a comma before a conjunction, it depends on what the sentence is doing. So if you have two really short independent clauses, you don't really need a comma. Like, let's say, I wash and you dry. How about that? Let's just do that. I wash and you dry. Here you don't really need a comma because using that will kind of just interrupt the flow of the sentence because these are two really short clauses, so it's better for the sentence not to have a comma. It just flows better. So if the clauses are really short, then you don't need a comma. And another example would be if the conjunction you're using isn't a coordinating conjunction. So I'm trying to think of an example. Okay.
Hello.
Yes? Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm fine.
Welcome to class.
Thank you.
Okay, so in this example here, we have I want this, but not that. Here you don't need a comma because you don't have two independent clauses. It's just one clause. So really what you're doing is just connecting two words or groups of words. You're connecting this
Yeah.
and not that. So here you don't need a comma. So basically, and let me type this up. A comma is not required if or okay, so to recap, a comma is not required if in a compound sentence the independent clauses are very short, or in any other sentence you're joining words or groups of words instead of clauses. So you don't need a comma in either of those instances. And no, the Oxford comma isn't actually. I will mention that. Actually, that's a good question. I will mention that later because that's something I should have mentioned earlier, but I didn't. Um. Is the sound gone on my? No, I still see that my sound is working.
It's fine, yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, it might just be you then, the mechanic. Okay, all right. So now we are going to, actually, before we continue, let me talk about the Oxford comma. So the Oxford comma is, it's a rather controversial topic in English grammar, but I will go ahead and cover it briefly. So you use commas to separate items in a list, right? So, for example, I bought cheese, eggs, and milk. So let's see. Let me type this two different ways. Okay. Okay, so here we have this, and here we have this. Okay. And I'm going to try to see if I can do that. Okay, so here we have two different sentences. I bought cheese, eggs, and milk. And I wrote it two different times. The only difference is that in the first sentence you have an extra comma, which is used to separate the second to last item in a list from the conjunction and the last item after the conjunction. And this is what we call the Oxford comma. But if you want, you could actually take the Oxford comma out and just leave it like that. So you just have no comma before the conjunction here. So you're wondering, okay, is this grammatically correct, or should I to leave it out or to keep it in? Technically, you can do either. I personally use the Oxford comma, but some people don't like using it. It really doesn't matter whether or not you use it. You can do it either way. I've seen plenty of sentences written with the Oxford comma and plenty of sentences written without the Oxford comma. But that being said, if you're not going to use the Oxford comma, you need to be a bit more careful about how you order your words in the list. Because if you're not careful, you might say something different than intended. Whereas with the Oxford comma, you don't have to pay attention to the words as much. So let me see if I can think of an example of this. Let's see. I'm trying to think of an example because I did not intend to talk about this at first, so give me a moment. Hold on, let me think. Wow, I'm having a hard time thinking of an example. I know that there are examples out there. I don't know why I'm having a hard time thinking of one. Okay, give me a moment, sorry.
Chin.
Huh?
How come more Americans use the Oxford comma than, Brits?
I honestly don't know. That's just the nature of dialects. There are always going to be some slight grammatical
Yeah,
differences like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just.
Just figured, It's alright.
No, you're good. I don't know why. Like I've come across examples, but I just. Huh. Okay. Well, I'll just come back to that in a moment. But anyway, in any case, it doesn't really matter which one you use. You can use the Oxford comma. You don't have to use it. I use it myself, but I don't. But I'm not gonna throw a fit if you don't use it. Like I just don't really care either way. Um, why more Americans use it than Brits? Who knows? Like, no, I don't know the answer to that. We tend to use it. Brits tend not to use it. But it's fine as long as you make your sentences semantically clear and unambiguous. Then it really doesn't matter whether or not you use it. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to. What were we on? Oh, subordinating conjunctions. So let's go ahead and talk about dependent clauses first. So actually I already explained what dependent clauses are, but to review, dependent clauses are clauses that start with a subordinating conjunction. So, for example, before you go, this is a dependent clause because there's a clause, the subject is you, the predicate is go, and before is the subordinating conjunction. Okay. So, a subordinating conjunction is subordinating conjunction goes it's at the head of the dependent clause. So here we have before you go. Before here is the subordinating conjunction. So here, before is a subordinating conjunction. I'm not sure that example would work. I don't think that example would work. Because if you take out the comma, it's still pretty obvious what you mean. The Oxford comma, I mean. Yeah, and see, yeah, as Water points out, to some people the Oxford comma would look weird. To others, it's just it looks weird not to have it. To me, it looks weird not to use it, but for some, it looks weird to use it. You know, that's just how messy language is. You're always going to have slight grammatical differences between the dialects. That's just how things are. Because so what one dialect finds fine, the other will just be like, ew, gross. And, you know, it's just stuff like that. Okay. But anyway. So common subordinating conjunctions are, I'll list a few, and you guys can list more in the chat if you want. So common subordinating conjunctions are before, after, if, unless, although, since, and etc. So those are some common subordinating conjunctions. And I'm not going to cover every single possible one there is because there are many more subordinating conjunctions than there are coordinating conjunctions. But I will cover a few of these. Yeah, there's also whether and what else? There's also once and while and when and where and so on and so forth. So to cover some of the more common ones, before is used, before and after, let's talk about before and after. So before and after illustrate a sequence of events. So for example, and let's use part an example I used earlier. Before you go. Let's put it in this sentence. Wash the dishes before you go. So here we have two clauses. Well, yeah, we have two clauses. One dependent, before you go, and one independent, wash the dishes. And here there's no explicit subject in the first one, but that's because this is a command. So the subject is understood to be you with commands. So you're technically saying you wash the dishes, but in commands we don't really put in the you because it's obvious. Okay, so, but anyway, here we have wash the dishes before you go. So before is indicating the sequence of events. You wash the dishes first, and then you go. Or leave, or wherever you go, whatever, like leave the house. And for after, it works very similarly, except that when you use it before, you're saying that one action will take place, and then another action will take place, whereas after is kind of reversed. So let's use this. I will call him after I finish my homework. So here, so you finish your homework first, and then you'll call him, compared to the first sentence where the first clause took place before the second clause. Oh, my mic just, I hate my mic sometimes. Okay, hold on. I'll be
We
right
can hear
back.
you.
Yeah, well, here, let me
We
switch
hear
mics.
you, it's fine.
It sounded like a printer just then. Like an error.
Yeah, like, my mic does that sometimes. Let me just, hold up. Let me
What
just,
headset do you have?
a headset. It's one that I've been using. It usually works, but for some reason, it occasionally just stops, like, functioning properly. And I don't know why.
I think it might be your drivers. You might need to update them.
That might be it.
Mm.
Okay. Here, hold up. I'll be right back. test. Test. Okay. Let's just change this really fast. What's it? Guess mic? Headset mic. Okay. Hello? Okay. Just making sure that's working. Okay, now to rejoin the class. Okay, can you all hear me? Shoot. Because I'm using a different mic.
Holy shit, you sound English now.
I do?
Oh no, not anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna use this mic for now. Okay, so what was I? Oh yeah, right. So I explained before and after. Okay, so just put that here. Okay, there. Okay, so that's before and after. So to explain another one, and I'll explain a few more before I continue. Let's talk about if. If describes a condition. So if something happens, then something else will happen. So something won't happen until something else happens. So if you were rich, you would buy a lot of things. So here we're using if as a condition. So once this condition, if you are rich, becomes a reality, then you would buy a lot of things. So if something happens, then something else will happen. So one thing needs to happen for another thing to happen. That's how if works. It's used for conditions. Okay. What else? I'll cover.
Sorry for interruption, but can I ask a question?
Yes.
Shouldn't it be like if you were rich, you would have bought a lot of things?
It depends on. Actually, no. Well, no. Hold on. Let me think.
Okay.
No. Okay. Yeah. That's either one is correct, but it depends on what time frame the clause after if you were rich. That depends on the time frame of the clause after it. So.
Yeah.
So you would have you would have bought a lot of things would be fine if you recently went and bought some things, but you only bought a few things. Whereas you would buy a lot of things would be if you haven't bought anything yet. So that's it's about present versus past basically.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you. Yeah, I got you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about the audio quality. Again, I don't like using this mic, but the other one just has issues. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. So that's if. And I'll cover another one because I don't feel like covering every single one. Let me cover although. So, although is used to indicate contrast. So, or it's like, here, let me type up an example to make it more clear. Or we'll just use water's example. Although I like people, I hate talking to them. We'll use that example. So, it essentially means despite that. So even though this thing is true, this thing is also true. So it's used to talk about two ideas that don't really go together, that despite the fact that one idea exists, another exists anyway, if that makes sense. So although it's used to talk about two events or ideas that don't really go together, that like sharply oppose each other, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain conjunctions. It's just something you have to get a feel for. That's although. And even though and though work the same way too. So although, even though, and though are all very similar. So you can use, let me type it out. You can use although, or even though, or simply though. And it doesn't really matter which one you use. So they're all pretty much the same thing. Okay.
Sorry, could I ask you something?
Yes, go ahead.
Though is those?
No, it's just though. Are you asking how it's pronounced?
Could you? Yes.
It's just though with an O sound. Though. Oh, through versus
Could you
those.
write it in chat? I wanna check in my dictionary.
Wait, through? No, that's though, man. Though and those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he was mixing up though and those because the way you said it sounded like his pronunciation was fairly similar.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like those people.
Oh, okay.
Those people, those group
Yeah.
of something.
Yeah, that's the only example I could think of.
Okay, but yeah, those words are pronounced completely differently.
It's like the beginning of a racist sentence.
The beginning of what?
Yeah,
Whoa.
it was. It did kind of feel that vibe.
Okay, Oh, I need to cover an important one. Let's cover because. Because indicates a reason for something. So, for example, actually, why don't I let someone in the chat type up an example? Why don't you type up an example with because? You know, to give
Sorry
you guys...
guys, but which chat you active on? I'm in welcome chat.
I'm sorry, what?
Which chat you active on?
Oh, classes chat.
Welcome. I'm in classes chat. English question.
Hello.
Yeah. I found it.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Okay. I find that the world is a broken place because there is so much variety that makes it beautiful. So here he's using because there is so much variety as a reason for his finding that the world is a broken place. So the world is a broken place because there is so much variety. So this happens because this happens. So this is the reason for this, basically. Okay. And let's use the mechanics example. The company can afford to splurge because it has become increasingly prosperous. So why can the company afford to splurge? Because it has become increasingly prosperous. So it has become increasingly prosperous. I can't speak today. It has become increasingly prosperous is a reason for the company being able to splurge. So here we're talking about indicating a reason for something. Okay. And since can sometimes... Okay, let me talk about since and as, and that'll be it for now. Since and as. So since and as can sometimes work like because, but not always. So these sometimes work like because. So you could say, since he failed to pass the exam, he cannot graduate.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, welcome to class.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay. So for this example, let me just, okay. Okay, so for this example, since is working in a similar manner to because. He cannot graduate because he failed to pass the exam. He cannot graduate since he failed to pass the exam. So here, since is working in a similar manner to because. But since doesn't always work like that. And yeah, what Walter said is a good point. So a lot of noun-names mix up for and since when referring to time. So, because, and I know why, like in Spanish, for example, you know, for and since are they kind of overlap, but yeah, you wouldn't say I have been learning English since 3 years. Now in Spanish, that's how you'd say it, but in English, no. You would say I have been learning English for 3 years. So that's something to keep in mind. So since and for are not the same.
Is it wrong? Say since.
In this case, yes. You can't use since like that. But you can say something like this. You could say, since long ago, I have wanted to... I'm trying to think of an example. I have wanted to meet my role model. Oh yeah, you could use since like that. Like if you have a date, you could say that. But if you're using like some like 3 years or anything like that, no, you can't use since like that. That wouldn't make any sense. So you could use since like this though. Since long ago, I have wanted to meet my role model. Oh, that's okay, Dutchy. That's okay. Yeah, I was
A
wondering
lot
where
of the
you
time,
were.
though, you'll normally just omit the since, and you'll just say, "I've wanted to meet my role model for a very long time."
Yeah, you could do
The
that too.
since feels a bit weird in that instance.
Yeah, it
Maybe it's
does.
different dialect.
Yeah, it does. Like, I just wanted to provide an example where that could work. But yeah, you could use. There are slightly more natural phrasings you could use. Okay. So yeah, since doesn't always work like because. That's just basically the main point. And the same thing with as. Sometimes as can work in a similar manner to because. So you could say, as I am too young, I cannot go to the bar. So here, as is functioning in a similar manner to because. Because I am too young, I cannot go to the bar. But one thing I should point out is that it's not common to use as. I mean, like, it's not entirely common to use as like this. Sometimes you'll hear it used like this, sometimes no. People tend to use, like, because or since, and, like, they tend to use those more often than as. But it's not largely uncommon to hear as being used in that manner. But I just wanted to show you that you could use as like that. But it's a bit more natural to use because or since in that manner. Okay, should I always put a verb in the present perfect with since? It depends. It depends. Like, if you mean to use as because, then you can use as that way. But there are times where as doesn't really work that way. Like, there are times where you use as to indicate that two events are occurring at the same time, kind of like this. So, let me show you an example. Let me see. So I'm trying to think of an example where, okay. So you could say something like that. They did the dishes as we did the cleaning. So here, as is working more like while than because. So as, it doesn't always work like because. But again, here I would find while to be a slightly better choice, but again, it just depends. Like, as is more commonly used in this manner similar to while than it is to because, but just to show you that as doesn't always work as because, well, that's what I wanted to show you. Let's see. Yeah, as is basically while in this case. It can be while or because. Okay. So that's subordinating conjunctions. Let me check my outline really fast. Okay, so, and this is something I should be talking about right now. So let's talk about complex sentences. So a complex sentence has one independent clause, and one dependent clause. Now remember, a compound sentence is different. It has two independent clauses. So they're not the same thing. Okay, so a complex sentence has one independent clause and one dependent clause. And we've already typed up a lot of examples, but I'll go ahead and type up another one. No, I don't have a textbook or anything like that. Okay, so let's see. An example of a compound sentence would be I will wait for him until class starts. So here we have a complex sentence. So the independent clause is I will wait for him. The dependent clause is until class starts. Do the clauses always have to use modals? No, they don't have to. Modals, you can use modals, you don't have to. It's like, it's whatever. They're not required. Okay, so that's what a complex sentence is. It has one independent clause and one dependent clause. Okay, now what about a compound complex sentence? So let's talk about compound complex sentences. So this is essentially a combination of the two. So let's talk about this. So does anyone know what a compound complex sentence is? Okay, well, a compound complex sentence is a sentence that has more than, it needs to have at least 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause. So it needs to have at least two. It needs to have at least 2 independent clauses and at least 1 dependent clause. I need to fix that. I don't like how that. So a compound complex sentence is a sentence that has at least 2 independent clauses and at least 1 dependent clause. So you need 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause at minimum. And I don't know what the heck is wrong with my... Okay, whatever. Anyway, so so to provide an example, let's say I went to the store.
All these people in one chat. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. And there is no everybody who is talking at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so here is an example of a compound complex sentence. I went to the store and I bought some meat before I went to the post office. So here you have 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause. So can anyone tell me what the independent clauses are and what the dependent clause is? In the example I just typed up?
I went to the store would be dependent, I think.
Yeah, I went to the store is independent, yes. So that's 1. Oh, you said wait, someone else said that this was dependent. No, I went to the store should be independent. But there's only 1 dependent clause there. And there are 2 independent clauses. Oh, independent, you mean that? Okay. Okay, yeah, then, yeah, in that case it is independent. Before I went to the post office is dependent. Yeah, that's correct. No. So, I bought some meat would be independent. So, the 2 independent clauses here are, I went to the store, and the second one is... Okay, so these 2 are the independent clauses. I went to the store and I bought some meat. These are the 2 independent clauses. The dependent clause would be, as someone else said, before I went to the post office. And someone said earlier that a dependent clause is basically uncompleted. It's a dependent clause, not a dependent sentence. So a dependent clause is, yes, it's basically incomplete. It cannot stand on its own. So here, I went to the store and I bought some meat are independent clauses, but before I went to the post office is not an independent clause. It can't stand on its own. as a complete thought or a complete sentence. So it's a dependent clause. Okay, so that's what a compound complex sentence is. Yeah, just because of the word before, it's dependent. Because dependent clauses have a subordinating conjunction at the head of the clause, at the very front of the clause. That's what makes them dependent. So they're clauses, they have a subject and a predicate, but they can't stand on their own. That's why they're dependent, because they need an independent clause to form a complete thought. Okay, so that's that.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, where are you from?
I'm from the United States.
Oh yeah,
Bruh.
fuck. Okay. Goodbye.
Hi.
Hi.
Can we speak here?
Huh?
Can we
No,
speak here?
you're just currently listening right now.
Okay.
Yeah, this.
He's revising grammar drills with people on a larger scale, so you have to listen.
Okay, yeah. That's why most people are silent here. Okay, what was I going to... Okay, so that's compound and complex sentences. Now let's cover correlative conjunction. Actually, no, wait. One more thing I forgot to mention. So, someone talked about commas earlier. There's one more thing I need to talk about. So, regarding complex sentences, if you're going to put the dependent clause in front, at the front of the sentence, and the independent clause at the back, then you need a comma after the dependent clause. So, for example,
So, what is your attitude towards refugees?
oh wow, someone beat me to it. Cool. Okay. I mean, muting him, by the way.
It's probably Adrian.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been pretty good about that. Okay. So, mics off, please. So, as I was saying, before I leave, I want you to finish the laundry. That's when before I leave, that's the dependent clause. It's at the head of the sentence. But actually, let me type this out first. That I should be typing this out first.
How do you distinguish complex compound sentences from run-on sentences?
That's actually a good question. I'll get to that in a moment. And Water brought up another good point that I need to bring up. Okay. So here we have two sentences. Before I leave, I want you to finish the laundry. I want you to finish the laundry before I leave. So in the first case, the dependent clause is in the front. So if you're going to have it at the front, you need to put a comma after it. But if you have it towards the back and the independent clause in the front, then you don't need the comma. So don't type I want you to finish the laundry, comma, before I leave. No, don't do that. Now, what Water brought up was a good point. Now, I know that in other languages, commas work a bit differently. So, say in German, you actually use commas to set off subordinate clauses.
Oh, I didn't mean comma. I meant speech
didn't?
marks. No, I meant speech marks. My bad.
Oh.
I'm being a pillock.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's okay. I mean...
Yeah, my bad.
No, it's alright. But, anyway, yeah, like... I know that comma rules do work differently in some languages, but in English, sometimes you can use commas before dependent clauses, but not always. It just depends on how important the clause is to the sentence. And I did cover this in a different lesson in my lesson where I talked about that versus which. So if you want to know more about how commas work there, regarding restrictive and non-restrictive clauses, just watch that video, which I have on my channel, and I'll post that a link to my channel later. But anyway, just know that regarding conjunctions like before and after, you don't need the comma if the clause is towards the back. So, well, what I mean is that, like, regarding how commas set off subordinate clauses, like, sometimes in English you can use commas if the subordinate clause is towards the back, but not always. So, oh, you're talking to him. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the moment you started saying that, because I wrote, what do you mean? You start going off it, and I felt really awkward. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay, because what you said was actually important anyway, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you to elaborate.
Yeah, don't worry. Okay, but yeah, that's just what I wanted to bring up. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, before we do some exercises, the last thing I'm going to talk about is correlative conjunctions. But before I talk about correlative conjunctions, does anyone have any questions so far? Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention. Independent clauses are... Let me type this in. Independent clauses are the same thing as main clauses. I forgot that these can sometimes have different names. And dependent clauses are the same thing as subordinate clauses. So you might hear these referred to with different terms, but they're the same thing. Independent clauses are main clauses. Dependent clauses are subordinate clauses. Okay. But anyway, does anyone have any questions so far?
How do you distinguish run-on sentences
yes,
from
yes, your question.
compound complex sentences?
Well, run-on sentences are sentences that lack proper punctuation and conjunctions. So let me type up an ugly sentence. So for example, so here you have, we were playing video games together, he beat me. This is a run-on sentence because you have two ideas here that are not joined properly. We were playing video games together and he beat me. So to fix this, we need to add a conjunction and a comma. We were playing video games together and he beat me. So a run-on sentence is just a bunch of sentences glued together without any sort of proper punctuation or conjunctions. Like, none are used. So that's what makes a run-on sentence a run-on sentence. It's similar to a comma splice where you just use a comma but not a conjunction. But with a run-on sentence, you don't use any punctuation or any conjunctions. So you could have a bunch of sentences smashed together, and people would be having a hard time following your thought process because you didn't connect the sentences properly. So, and another example, and we'll do 3 clauses this time. Okay. Okay, so here we have 3 clauses, and I went and just smashed them all together. This was a hard test, I couldn't finish it, my parents are going to be mad at me. This is a run-on sentence because these 3 ideas are not joined properly by conjunctions or by commas. Like, there's just no way, there are no connections in this sentence. So to fix this, we need to add some commas and conjunctions. Or alternatively, you can just separate the sentences too. That works too. So let me just separate. Okay. So.
I am sorry.
No, it's alright. Don't worry. No, some people are. You notice that throughout the lesson, a few people have just been coming in and trolling for nothing. So it's just whatever. I mute them and just keep going. Okay. Let's see. This was a hard test and I couldn't finish it. So to fix this run-on sentence. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Although you don't need a comma, you don't need a space before the comma there. And you need a comma after, before the conjunction and. But other than that, that's a fine sentence. Or you could also do it like this. You could just separate the two sentences. So, 3 sentences, kind of like this. So put 2 in one and then 1 in the other. So this was a hard test and I couldn't finish it. And then I put a period and I put my parents are going to be mad at me. So that's another way to do it. Like you can fix a run-on sentence in multiple ways, but these are just a few of the ways you could do it. You could separate. You could use conjunctions and commas, or you could just use a period and just chop off, like just cut off some sentences from each other. So.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so. That's basically what a run-on sentence is. You want to avoid those in writing because they make your thought process really hard to follow. So, avoid run-on sentences. They're not good at all. Don't use them. Okay. So that's the difference between run-on sentences and sentences, other sentences. Yes?
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good, I'm fine too.
Okay.
There are maybe 30 birds on here, but no one talk. Just you. Why?
I feel like whenever someone asks you a question like "How are you?" What is the lesson about? You are hovering over them with the mute button, getting ready to mute them because you're like, "Are they a troll? Are they not a troll?" Like,
right,
I feel like you're really skeptical about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've been doing because I'm just like
Yeah, exactly.
Like I guess I didn't make this clear enough. If you're
going I read your little info thing on the classes, and you don't want people interrupting unless it's
the thing is, those people don't read it. They just randomly join.
okay.
I try to move them out and talk to them always. Like I always move those people out, but sometimes
they just don't listen.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure I made it clear. If you're going to join the lesson, please don't interrupt, because it's annoying having to stop every time.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good lesson.
Oh, thank you.
No worries.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if you can talk in the mic, yeah, that's fine, Meg. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, so this was a hard an independent one, and we have the dependent and then at the end another independent, right?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
Yeah, right. The last sentence. This was a hard test is independent, and then we have and I couldn't finish it. Dependent, and the dependent as well, right?
Okay, so you said this was a hard test is independent, right?
Yeah.
What did you say the second one was?
And I couldn't finish it is dependent. Us, right?
No, it's independent. I could have made this a bit clearer, but see, the thing that separates independent clauses from dependent clauses is that dependent clauses have a subordinating conjunction at the front, but independent clauses don't have. Yeah, they don't have any conjunction. So and doesn't count. Like and is not part of an independent clause. It's just not part of it. Or but or any of those other coordinating conjunctions.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So only subordinating clauses, subordinate clauses have conjunctions at the front. Okay, so yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me go ahead and type that because that's something I should have brought up. So independent clauses do not have conjunctions attached to them, but dependent clauses do. I mean, yeah, like, yeah, actually, that's another good point I should bring up. But dependent clauses do have conjunctions attached to them. So
What is this about? Can I help?
Huh?
What is this about? Can I help?
Help with? Yes.
I mean, it depends.
No, it's fine. Okay, but I couldn't finish it. Sounds like it's uncompleted. Well, okay, so the thing is that, some people frown upon using coordinating conjunctions like that, like if you put it at the beginning of the sentence, like, but I couldn't finish it. Some people don't really like doing that. It's, at one point, I guess it was wrong, but nowadays, well, it's not necessarily wrong, it's something that you shouldn't be, doing. I like, it's just something I wouldn't recommend. I mean, you can do it, but I just wouldn't recommend doing it. But I wouldn't say it's wrong to put but or so or and at the front of the sentence. It's not wrong, but I wouldn't recommend it. So I guess it's just a stylistic thing. Because again, standards of language can change over time. So, but like when I was younger, people had a stronger aversion to using coordinating conjunctions at the beginning of sentences. But I guess nowadays it's not as people aren't as mad about that. But yeah. Anyway,
I think it just helps people to get some time in between sentences.
Yeah.
Like to get,
Yeah, that too. Yeah, sometimes that's the case. So it's not really wrong to use the conjunction like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good point. Thank you. Okay, so let me talk about correlative conjunctions. So correlative conjunctions. Let me type it in the chat. How long has this lesson been going on? Oh, 1.5 hours. Okay. Correlative conjunctions. So correlative conjunctions they're conjunctions that occur in pairs. So they're always in pairs. So it's going to be one group of words, with another group of words, or just one word with another word. They always come in pairs. So some examples are either or and neither nor. And there are a few more I can think of. Can anyone think of any more examples of correlative conjunctions? Like, you can say it out loud or just type it in the chat. It doesn't matter. Both and, yeah, that's one. That's a good one. As much as it's not a correlative conjunction, it has to be. It's a conjunction that occur. There are conjunctions that occur in pairs. Not only but, yeah, or not only but also, yeah. Those two work too. So that's correct. So, no, as well as, and therefore not examples. Again, these are conjunctions that occur in pairs. So it's two conjunctions to working together, not one. It's not more than one word. It's two conjunctions working together. Okay, so now what did they do? Sorry, what? Okay. Okay. So some examples. Let me use these as an example. Okay, so Let's use neither and nor. Yeah, both and are correlative conjunctions. If they work together, then they're correlative conjunctions. Okay. Oops. Actually, I did not boldface the right words. Hold on. Take that out. Okay. So one example is this one. Neither he nor I can play in the tournament. So here we have neither and nor working together to connect he and I. So neither he nor I can play in the tournament. So that's an example of a correlative conjunction. And another one, let's use either and or. So either this or that could work. So here, either and or are working together to connect this and that. Either this or that could work. So that's another example of correlative conjunction. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to call that. The more and the more. I'm not really sure about that, so I'm sorry. I don't really have an answer for that. It might be, I don't know. It might be a correlative conjunction, I don't know. But I'm talking about the ones that I know are definitely correlative conjunctions. But that's not a bad question, though. But I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for that. Okay, some people pronounce neither different. Yeah, they do. Some people will say neither, some people will say neither. It's the same thing with either. Some people will say either, some people will say either. It depends on the person. Okay, but yeah, that's actually not a bad question either. Okay, let's use not only and but also. Let's see. Ooh, I have a good example here. Okay, oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I don't mind clarifying that. That's a good question to ask. Okay. So here we have another example. And I should point out that correlative conjunctions can connect words, phrases, or clauses, or verbs, or, anything like that. So they're not limited to just words or phrases. They can also connect clauses. But here we don't have two separate clauses. We have two separate predicates. Okay, so here he not only passed the exam, but also got the highest mark in the class. So that's also another example of a correlative conjunction. And there was one more I wanted to mention. What was it again? Oh, both and. Okay. No, that's not one of the correlative conjunctions chain, no. Okay, another example would be, let's see. Let's see.
What's the difference between not only did he pass and he not only passed?
That's actually a good question. I'm going to get to that in a moment, so hold on to that question. Okay, let me just cover both and really fast. Okay, so let's talk about both and. Oh, that's a correl. Oh, it puts that one within the correlative. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, well, that's nice to know. Okay, going back to my example. Okay, so let's say we have a sports game. Both the home team and the visitor team scored 30 points. So that's another example of correlative conjunction. Both and are working together to connect the home team and the visitor team. And going back to your question that you asked, so if you're using not only and but also, there's a trick to the word order you have to know. So if you're not connecting clauses, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you're connecting clauses, here's what you do. So let's take my example, and then let's change it up a bit. So let's see. Okay. Let me do that too. Okay. Then let me just go ahead and do this. Okay. So, going back to what someone asked earlier, if you're going to use not only and but also to connect clauses, here's how you would do it. So with not only, you have to use do, the do verb. So in this case, you'd have to use, and you're using did, so because it's past was in the past tense, so you invert did. You separate did from past, and then you invert did and he. So it would be like this: not only did he pass the exam. Why it's like this? Well, if you've studied languages like German or any other Germanic language, it's just a remnant of word order where English or Germanic languages in general tend to put the verb in the second part of the clause. So in this case, did is the second part of the clause. So it's just one of those remnants of grammar, old grammar in English. It's just like this. So that's why we invert with not only. So you would say not only did he pass the exam, but you wouldn't say not only he passed the exam. You have to say not only did he pass the exam. And regarding the second part, you would say but he also got the highest mark in the class, but you wouldn't say but also he got the highest mark in the class. Or you could just take out the also and just say but he got the highest mark in the class, and that would work too. I just put also there in parentheses, but you'd have to put it after the subject here for it to sound good. If you put it before the subject, it won't sound as good. But that's how you would use not only and but with clauses. So with not only, remember, it's did, you change the past tense to did plus the infinitive, and then you invert the subject and the did part. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so that's correlative conjunctions. And someone else said the more is also correlative conjunction. So there's that. So like, I guess for example, you could say, for some people using also in that sentence would sound weird, but not using it would also sound weird. But you technically don't always need also. You don't always need it. You can use it if you want, but you don't always need it. It just depends on the person. Or I guess the more the better could work. I'll just stick to this. The more the merrier. Haha. Okay. Let's more here. So I guess here you could say the more you study, the more your grades will improve. So here I guess you have the more and the more. Assuming that these are correlative conjunctions. Someone said they are, so I'll just take their word for it. So in this case, that's how you'd use this. And you notice that the more and the more are connecting to two different clauses. You study and your grades will improve. Okay, if we say that sentence in present form, what will it look like? It would be like, okay, let's change the sentence a bit. So, in the present form, it would be like this. It's really just the same thing, but instead of did, you use does or do. It depending on the subject of what the subject of the clause is. So let me show you what that would look like in the present tense. Okay, so here you'd say, not only does he study for his exams, but he also goes to tutoring sessions. So that's what it would look like in the present tense. But I didn't use the same exact sentence because I didn't want to use the narrative present. But anyway, for this example, that's how you would use it in the present. Not only does he study for his exams, but he also goes to tutoring sessions. So it's really the same thing, you're just changing the tense. That's really it. The tense of did becomes does, and the tense of whatever the past is becomes the present in the second clause. So that's how you would do that. Okay, so I think I've talked about everything I could about correlative conjunctions, or conjunctions in general. So before I continue to, actually I have a few exercises here, but before I get to those, does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Is this also an example of correlative conjunction? He's not as tall as me.
No, no, in that case, that's just, I mean, as would be a conjunction there, but it's not a correlative conjunction in that case. Oh wait, actually wait, no, hold on. I think you might be right. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you're saying he's not as tall as me, yeah, that would be a correlative conjunction. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I'm sorry. But the funny thing about that is that some people actually omit the first as in that pair, so informally. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. So that's why I didn't understand what you were talking about at first.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
What?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What is that? What is that? What was that?
Okay, well.
Oh,
Okay. Sorry
it's
about
my
that.
clock.
Huh? Okay, let's see. Okay, so if no one has any other questions, let's just go ahead and go to the exercises. Okay. And before I continue, if you're going to come into this class, please just don't say anything at all. Just don't say anything. Don't greet me, don't do anything like that, because you're interrupting me. I know you don't mean to, but you're interrupting me. So just come in and please just stay quiet. Unless you have a question, then you can speak. Because you're kind of being disruptive.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Sorry.
How do I know this much about grammar? Well, the funny thing is that I did a lot of grammar exercises over the years. Like, my parents bought me grammar books, and they would always make me do them, which I didn't mind because I just really liked grammar. So that's how I know a lot about these things.
Where are you from?
The United States. It should be...
Sorry. It's my problem.
Okay. Yeah, if you look at my...
Thanks.
Uh-huh. Yeah, if you look at my profile, you'll see that I have the American English role, so yeah, I'm from America. Texas, to be more specific, yes.
I'm from New Jersey.
Okay. Okay, alright, so let's go ahead.
Where from?
Hey, Mister, I'm from New Jersey. You've been asked not to speak in here anymore. So if you do it once again,
Sorry.
okay,
It's my
mute
problem.
yourself now.
It's okay. It's my problem in New Jersey.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Just, yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can pull up the lesson. I'm sorry, the exercises here. think we could try... Oh, I like this one. Yeah, let's try this one. Okay, so let me go ahead and post the link here, if my computer would work with me. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to post a link to the questions here, and then we're going to go through them one at a time. I'm not going to bother going in turns because there are just too many people here, so I'm going to cover each question, and you can either type, well, first wait until I say the question and the choices, and then you can just say the question out, the answer out loud, or you can just type in the chat. So let me just go ahead and post that, and we'll just go over these questions. So open that link up, everyone, and then you will be taken to an exercise with subordinating conjunctions. Okay. Okay, so if you're ready, let's go ahead and begin. Okay, so question number 1. I will be late today. Blank, my car is broken down. So you can use though or because in the blank. So which would be better here? Okay, so let's see. Okay. Yep. Everyone got it. So in this case, it's because. And I got it correct. Cool. Okay, so...
Would given that be also correct?
Wouldn't what?
Would given that in place of because?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that would be correct too. Well, actually, no. No, I'm sorry. No, that wouldn't be right because... no, I don't think that would work here. It's hard to explain, but when you use given that, you're implying a condition. So I don't think that would work well here. Whereas because would be more fitting here because you're explaining why you're going to be late today. Or I don't know. Maybe it would work. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess I don't really have a definite answer for that. Part of me feels that it could work, but part of me is just like, no. So I'm not really sure. But I'm not going to say that you're entirely wrong, though. So I just don't know. I guess I'd have to explore that more. But that's not a bad question to ask, though. Because there are times where you can use other conjunctions and they would be just fine. Okay, yeah, I'm reading the questions. Okay, so number 2. I don't drink coffee, blank, it makes me nervous. So you could use although or as. So which one would you use? Or which... As. Yes. Yeah. As everyone's saying, it's as, yes. Because as in this case is working in a similar manner to because. You're explaining why you don't drink coffee. Okay, now number 3. Blank, Mei Lee doesn't speak English. She can't go to university in Canada. So you can use since or whereas. So which one for number 3? I didn't explain whereas. I actually didn't explain that one, but everyone got it right. So in this case, it would be since. Since is functioning in a similar manner to because. You're explaining why Mei Lee can't go to university in Canada because she doesn't speak English, or since she doesn't speak English. Now, regarding whereas, here, hold up, because that's not really commonly used. Hold up, let me see something really fast. Oh my god, my computer's slow. Okay, so okay. Sorry, I was just looking up a definition for whereas because that's not very commonly used, so I had no idea how to explain it. But it's in you use it when you want to contrast or compare something with something else. So that wouldn't really work here. So like an example is you treat the matter lightly, whereas I myself was never more serious. So here you're contrasting two different people and how they act. So whereas wouldn't really work here. Oh, where's my example again? I have too many tabs open. Okay, I found it. Okay, number 4. June couldn't buy, if I pronounce his name correct, June or John, I don't know. But anyway, he couldn't buy in Christmas presents because... Oh, I just said the answer, crap. Okay, but whatever. Okay, so... well, you could use either even though or because. I just outright said the answer. My bad. Okay. That's embarrassing. Huh. Okay, but... I mean, yeah, it would be because, you know, you're explaining why something couldn't happen. Even though it wouldn't work here, because that's more about establishing some sort of contrast. Okay. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Let's talk about number 5. Paula got the job blank, she had no experience. So what would number 5 be? We have as and even though. Yeah, even though. Correct, yes. Even though. Because you're establishing some sort of contrast. She had no experience, but she got the job anyway. So as wouldn't really
What
work
about
here.
despite?
Despite the fact that, yeah, you could say that. That works too. But you'd have to use despite the fact that, and not just despite. Okay, number 6. Blank, it was raining, I didn't get wet. So which one would it be? A or B?
Although.
Yep, as people have been saying, although, yes. Although it was raining, I didn't get wet. You wouldn't use because, well, when it's raining, people normally get wet if they're not using umbrellas, so that wouldn't make any sense. Okay. Number 7. Jerry passed the exam first time blank. It really should be... Wait, why did it... Hold up.
Алло, ебать.
This is a Discord bug.
Алло, долбоёба нахуй.
Okay. Well, anyway, Jerry passed the exam first time blank.
Я черный игрок. Чё в хуй? Чё в хуй?
I'm just... Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway.
What's happening here?
Some people just being disruptive. We're just gonna keep going. I just mute.
Yeah, they're gone now.
Okay, good.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Okay. So anyway. Number 7. Oh, wait, I think I already read that. Oh, well. No, let me read it again. It's because I was interrupted. Okay, so, number 7. Jerry passed the exam. It really should be, I would say on his first time instead of just first time. But whatever. Jerry passed the exam on his first attempt. I'll just say that. Jerry passed the exam on his first attempt. Blank. I had to retake it 3 times. So would it be A or B?
A. A.
B. Can I participate?
Yeah, you just type up your answer
Where?
in the chat.
Yeah, but where is the where is A and B? What do they mean?
Oh,
I'll tell him.
You'd have to scroll here.
You can continue. I moved him out.
Oh, okay. Okay, just in case, let me just post the link again here.
Hey, who won't play Minecraft, guys?
That's not really relevant to what I'm doing right now. Okay. Wait, what did it put? Some people say B, some people say A. It's technically B.
I don't know.
Huh? Okay, so it's technically B for number 7, not A.
What? Why?
Okay, so with as doesn't really work here because as works in a similar manner to because. So it really wouldn't work here. You wouldn't say Jerry passed the exam the first time as I had to retake it 3 times. While would work better here because you're showing 2 events occurring, you know, together, like at the same time. That's what while is used for. So as doesn't really work here. Well, I mean, as it works like that too, but here in this case, it really wouldn't fit. While would be a better choice. Okay,
So this is answer on my question yet?
Huh?
This is answer on my question yet?
Yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, actually, wait, no, let me rephrase what I said. So, sometimes while can express contrast. I should explain it like that. So, in this case, someone passed the exam, but you had to retake it 3 times. So here, while can express contrast. So that's why while works, whereas as just doesn't. Okay. So number 8. Blank, my wife likes to travel abroad. I prefer to stay at home for my vacations. So we have whereas and since. So I mentioned what whereas meant earlier, and I explained since in the lesson. So which one would be more fitting for question number 8? Okay, well remember, whereas is used to contrast 2 things. So that's what it means. So there's no C, just A and B. Okay. Well, some people had it right, some people didn't. So
it's A.
Yeah, A. Yes, correct. Because you're establishing contrast.
Am I allowed to talk here?
Yeah, if you're going to answer a question or ask a question.
All right, got it.
Okay. Okay, so that's the end of the exercise. I don't want to do that one. Okay. Let me. My God. I have another one here, but it's just being frustrating. Okay. Oh, there we go. I wasn't clicking on the right thing. Okay. Now let's go ahead and do this one. Let me post this exercise, and it's whereas. Yeah. Okay. Let me go ahead and type this one. So go to that link that I just put in the classes chat, and we are going to go ahead and do these exercises together. Okay, so here we can choose between 5 conjunctions, and, because, but, or, so. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. Okay, so I've got a brother, blank, a sister. So what would be the best conjunction for that sentence? Yes, everyone's saying and. Yep, that's correct. Okay. It was very sunny last Sunday. Blank, we went to the beach. Oh wow, you guys are fast. Yep, it would be so. Okay, number 3. Would you like meat, blank, vegetables for lunch? Yep, or. That's it.
Well, in this case, it can be or and, right?
Yeah, it could be and, like, it could be or and. Yeah, you're right. I'm guessing that, see, what I don't like about some of these exercises is that they have ambiguous answers.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong. Yeah, it could be meats and vegetables, or meats or vegetables. I guess they're going for 4 this time. I don't know, but we're just gonna go with or for now. I mean, yeah, or. Okay. Okay. Next one. My father likes football. Blank. He doesn't like basketball. So. Yeah, they already put it in the chat. Yeah, in this case, it would be but. Okay. Okay, next one. We aren't going to the bank. Blank, it is closed. Damn, you guys are fast. Wow, okay. Yeah, we aren't going to the bank because it is closed. Okay, next one. We can go to the beach, blank, to the mountain. I don't really mind. So pick the one that sounds best. Yeah, in this case it would be or. I mean, you could technically use and, but I think they're going for or here, so we'll just go with or. Okay.
Yeah, I also thought and, but true.
Yeah. Yeah, some of these are not good questions. Okay. Let's go to the next one. These aren't numbered. Vigo is hotter than Santiago. Blank, Santiago is more beautiful. Okay, so some people got this wrong. It's not so, it's buts. Some people got that right, though. In this case, it would be buts, because you're establishing contrast. Okay, just 2 more. Oh, well, this next one has 2, and then the last one has 1. Okay. It is rainy today. Blank, take your umbrella. Blank, your boots. So we have 2 conjunctions here. So label, like, which would go with which. So, like, you say 1, you could say 1 and then the conjunction, then 2 and then the conjunction. Or just separate them with a comma. I don't care how you do it. So what would these 2 conjunctions be? Let's see. Or, just separate them with the space. It doesn't matter. Okay, so a lot of people got this one right. It would be so and and. It is rainy today, so take your umbrella and your boots. Okay, last one. I didn't buy the new shoes. Blank. I didn't have any money. So what would that one be? And because I'm broke. Okay, yeah, it's because. And we got everything right. Awesome. So that's that exercise. Let's see. Ew, I don't know why I picked this one. Okay, let's go ahead and do. Let me see. Okay, let's do. Actually, I guess we could do part of that one. Okay, I have just 2 more I want us to do. Yeah, I'll go ahead and... Oh, I forgot to mention, no sooner and than are also correlative conjunctions. And someone probably mentioned that earlier, but I just didn't understand what they were talking about at first. So if you mentioned that earlier, I'm sorry. But yeah, no sooner and than are also correlative conjunctions. But I covered all the others, I think. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one. I'll post a link in the chat. Oh, you have a question, Django? What is it? Oh, how often do I do these lessons? Okay, so I do lessons like these Tuesdays through Thursdays, but I don't do like every day. I could do 1 of those days or 2 of those days, but not 3 of those days. So it just depends. I mean, Wednesdays are usually the best time for me to do them. But, you know, I will do them on at least one of those days. So it just depends. I might do Tuesdays or Thursdays. Wednesdays is the most likely day, though. So just check Discord often and you'll see. I try to let people know 2 hours ahead of time. I do lessons once or twice a week. Okay. Let me go ahead and post this. Let me check my recording. Oh wow, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, but don't worry, like we're getting close to the lesson. Yeah, I record every lesson, so I'm going to upload it to my channel. So don't worry. And I made the resolution bigger so that you guys could see the video better because the last one didn't look that good. Okay, so let me go ahead and...
Like, you record every lesson?
Yeah.
Damn, that's cool. Hello.
Hi.
Whoever is watching.
Yeah.
What's your YouTube channel?
I'll
You got one?
I'll post it later.
Alright, dope.
Okay. Okay, so let me go ahead and post that one, and we'll go ahead and start the lesson. So I'll just wait a minute or so everyone can open up the link. I don't want to just start right away. So you guys can just let me know when you are ready in the chat or in the voice channel. Either way, either one. But that's the exercise I want you guys to open up. Okay, so it seems that I think you guys should be ready now. Okay. So, okay, awesome. Alright, let's go ahead and start. Okay, number one.
Wow!
Excuse me? Okay, so number
Sorry.
one. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. Okay, number one. I like sugar in my tea, blank, I don't like milk in it. So what would be the best choice for that one? Oh, see you later, the mechanic. Yeah. Yeah, you're all right. It would be butts. Okay. Number two. Listen to the story, blank, answer the questions in complete sentences. So, what would that one be? Yep, and you guys are good at this. You're getting it. Okay. Number three. Is it Thursday, blank, Friday today? So what would that one be? Yep, or is it Thursday or Friday today? Okay, number four. He was late, blank, the bus didn't come. Yeah, in this case I would say because is the best one. He was late because the bus didn't come. That makes the most sense. Okay, number five. We were very tired, blank, happy after our flight to Sydney. Okay, so I'm getting mixed answers here. Technically, it would be buts. I mean, and isn't wrong, but it's not the best choice to use. Because I think they mean to contrast tired and happy. So, buts would be the better choice here. No, although it wouldn't really fit for the last one, for number four. Okay, number six. They climbed the mountain, blank, it was very windy. Okay. Huh? Okay, yeah, as everyone's saying, it would be although. Okay. Number 7. Blank, Lenny was watching the planes. There should be a comma there. His wife was reading in the car. So what would that one be? Oops. I have too many windows open. Yeah, it's while. Okay. Number 8. I'll text you blank. I have arrived in Toronto. Yep, as you all said, or most of you anyway, it should be after. I'll text you after I have arrived in Toronto. Okay. Number 9. Hold on, let me check. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. Number 9. Neither my brother, blank, my sister own a car. Yeah, a lot of you got it. It's nor. Because remember, neither always goes with nor. The only time it doesn't is if it's functioning as some sort of adverb, like I do this, or something like if you were to say me neither, or stuff like that, then it doesn't need nor. But if you're connecting two different words or ideas together, and you have neither, you also need nor. Okay, so number 10. The sun was warm, blank, the wind was a bit too cool. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's yet. The sun was warm, yet the wind was a bit too cool. So yeah. That's it. Now let's check our answers. This thing is taking a while to load. Hold on. Yeah, we got all of them correct. Awesome. And another thing I should mention, I'll post these exercises on my channel. I'll post these exercises in the video description so that those who are watching can just follow along. Because if I just post a video, no one's going to know what I'm talking about with these exercises. Okay. Can I explain number 8 again? Yes. I'll tell you. I'm sorry. It says I'll text you after I have arrived in Toronto. Here, let me press repeat exercise because I need to see what the other answers are. Okay. Okay, so I'll text you blank, I've arrived in Toronto. After is the only one that makes sense here. The other three don't really work. First of all, then can't work as a conjunction like that. It just doesn't. Unless you have a semicolon and a comma with it, then it can, but it doesn't work like that here. Or wouldn't work because you're talking about two choices with or, and that doesn't work here. And so wouldn't work because you're showing a consequence of something from something else, and again, that wouldn't work here. Here, it's really more about a sequence of actions. I'll text you once I have arrived, or after I have arrived in Toronto. There's a slight difference there, but I'll text you after I've arrived in Toronto. So I'll arrive in Toronto first, and then I'll text you. So that's why we use after. Okay, but can we add when? For what question? When wouldn't work for any of these, really. Number 8? I'll text you when I ever... Oh, you mean that, yeah, actually, yeah, you could. You could say I'll text you... Well, no, it would be... No, you could, but you'd have to change the tense of this. I'll text you when I arrive in Toronto. So it would be when I arrive, not have arrived. Arrive. At least I think. Wait, let me think. Or actually, wait, no. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure about that. I'll text you when I have arrived in Toronto. I guess you could? I guess, actually, no, I think you could. But I think it'd be better to use the simple past instead of the I'm sorry, simple present instead of the present perfect. I don't know. Like, I guess you're not wrong. No, I think that could work. I guess that could work actually. Never mind. But I don't know. It's just one of those things I'm not completely sure about. But I guess I can all I can say is that it wouldn't be as common as just using the present simple arrive. So, but I don't think what you said is wrong either. Okay, well, that's that exercise. Okay. Okay, and then I have one more. It's I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna bother using the. I didn't cover conjunctive adverbs. I'll cover those in a bit. I should have covered those. I forgot to, or actually I didn't think to because I was focusing on conjunctions themselves rather than adverbs. But anyway, let me skip the. I want to focus on correlative conjunctions and coordinating conjunctions. And where did the rest of the page go? What the heck? It just disappeared. Oh wait, it just showed up. Okay. And no, it disappeared again. What the heck? Okay. Okay, there. Now it's showing up. Okay, let's see. I guess we'll just cover. I guess we'll cover these three. Let's see. I'm not going to cover conjunctive adverbs though. I'll briefly cover them after we do these exercises, but I'm not going to. We're not going to do the last part of this. Yeah, well, let's just do all the first three, but we're not going to do the last part. I'm not going to bother with that. Okay. So I'll post this. Okay, so that should take you to a series of exercises. We're just going to go through these, the first three, but not the last one. I'm not going to cover the adverbs. I don't know why. It just part of the page just keeps disappearing from me. I don't know why. But that's okay. I'll worry about that when I get to it. Okay, so let me know when you guys are ready. And let me check. Okay, so 2.5 hours. We've been doing this for 2.5 hours. Okay. We're almost done. This is just the last set of exercises and then we're done. And this time we're gonna focus on the specific category of conjunctions for each exercise here. Really? You thought it was Grammarly? Yeah, I can see that, yeah. I can see why you would think that. Okay. Oh wow, it's already almost 5 in my time zone. Okay. And what the heck? Oh, my computer's lagging a bit. Okay, this is getting frustrating. Okay, there we go. Am I the only teacher here? No. I mean, I'm the only teacher in this lesson, but I'm not the only teacher in the server. If that's what you're referring to. I'm the only teacher in this lesson, though. That's probably what you mean. Yeah, I'm the only teacher in this lesson. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, in general. Oh, no. If you look towards the right, you'll see that there are 4 other teachers there. Um, I'm just one of them. And there's actually another. I think like we have six teachers. One of them isn't listed, but I know who he is. Um, yeah, but yeah, I think we have like at least 6 here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's go to question number 1 for under conjunction exercises. So we're in, I'm sorry, no, subordinating conjunction exercises. So we have 3 different sets of, oh my god, my computer's lagging, sorry. Okay. Alright, awesome. Okay, so under subordinating conjunction exercises, let's do question number 1. I visit the Grand Canyon, blank, I go to Arizona. So what would make the most sense here? I know I didn't cover some of these, but they're really, regarding whenever and wherever, they're similar to when and where. So just try your best to answer some of these. I didn't cover once. Once just implies that something will happen when another thing happens. So I guess it's kind of like when in that case. Yeah, it would be whenever for the first one. I visit the Grand Canyon whenever I go to Arizona. That makes the most sense. Okay, number 2. This is the place, blank, we stayed last time we visited. Oh, I didn't cover how. Well, I couldn't cover, to be fair, I couldn't cover every conjunction. So, again, just try your best to answer these. How just, is just explaining how, explaining something, like the method that something, by which something was done. Or something like that. It just explains a method or something like that. Okay, so in this case, it would be, yeah, it would be where. This is the place where we stayed last time we visited. Okay. But don't worry, like most of the conjunctions here are ones that we've covered. A few, no. Okay. So, number 3. Blank, you win first place, you'll receive a prize. Prize, sorry. Yeah, in this case it would be if, you're right. Okay. Number 4. You won't pass the test, blank, you study. So I covered when and if. I didn't cover unless. So unless is similar to if, but it's kind of like, if unless is similar to if. It's basically saying that one thing won't happen until another thing happens. So once that condition is satisfied, then the other condition will happen. If that makes sense. So it would be unless in this case. So but if wouldn't make any sense here. You wouldn't say if you study you won't pass a test, because that doesn't make any sense. Studying will help you pass tests. So unless is the only thing that makes sense here.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Yeah? Did you have something to ask?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh. What's your question?
What time is it?
What time is it? You mean in my time zone?
Yeah.
Well, my time zone is almost 5 p.m.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the information.
Uh-huh. Okay. Number 5. I could not get a seat, blank, I came early. Yeah, in this case it would be though. I cannot get a seat though I came early. I really should have just skipped over questions that had conjunctions we didn't cover. So I won't cover number 10 or... I know what the answer is for number 10, but I'm not going to bother covering it. Because I can't cover every single conjunction there is. So I'll just skip over ones that we haven't covered. Okay, so number 6. We are leaving Wednesday, blank or not, it rains. And I forgot to mention, like, I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but weather implies choices too. So in this case, it kind of implies two things. Not necessarily choices, but just two outcomes or two things in general. So you could say, so in this case, but as someone else said, the answer here would be weather. We are leaving Wednesday whether or not it rains. So it could rain or it might not rain. So that's what weather is used to indicate two different outcomes. And I'm not going to bother covering 7 or 8. I'm going to cover 9. Not going to cover 10. Okay, so number 9. She's honest, blank, everyone trusts her. Yeah, that's right. The answer is so. She's honest, so everyone trusts her. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Sorry about questions earlier where I forgot to cover those conjunctions. But let's just skip ahead. Okay. So, let's go to correlative conjunction exercises now. Let me look at ones that we should... Let's see. Let me skip... Okay, no, actually, let's do number 1. Okay, so number 1. I plan to take my vacation blank in June, blank in July. So what would that one be? Yeah, either or, correct. Neither nor is not an actual choice, an available choice. And did someone just ping me? Okay, well, whatever. Okay, let me cover... Okay, yeah, let's do number 2. Number 2. Blank, I'm feeling happy. Blank, sad, I try to keep a positive attitude. So what would that one be? Yeah, in this case it's whether and or. Whether I'm feeling happy or sad, I try to keep a positive attitude. And let me skip number 3. And let's do number 4. Okay, number 4. Blank, only is dark chocolate delicious. Blank, it can be healthy. So what would that one be? Because, again, and the choices are here in parentheses. They're outlined in parentheses. Yeah, as you guys have said, it's not and but. So, not only is dark chocolate delicious, but it can be healthy. Okay. number 5. Number 5's not good. And okay, let's do... Wait, what on earth? Like, this one has 3 blanks, but only 2 of them... but there are choices for only 2. Okay, well, I'll just do it anyway. Okay, so I guess that was a typo or something. Okay, so number 6. Blank flowers, blank trees grow during warm weather. So ignore the third blank. That's not an actual choice. So what would that one be? Number 6. Yeah, both and. Yeah, that's correct. So both flowers and trees grow during warm weather. Okay. Okay, let's do... No, 10 is terrible. I'm not doing 10. Okay, I'm not going to bother doing 9. So, let's do... Did I cover... Okay, yeah. Let's do 7 and 8. Okay, so 7. Blank, do we enjoy summer vacation? Blank, we blank enjoy winter break. So what would that one be? Number 7. Under correlative conjunction exercises. Yeah, that's correct. Someone got it. Not only and but also. So, not only do we enjoy summer vacation, but we also enjoy winter break. Okay, good. And now the last one we're going to do. This is the last one we're going to do for this section. Number 8. Calculus is blank easy, blank difficult. And ignore the third blank because that seems to be a typo. So, okay. So what would the answer be for number 8? Yep, that's it. Someone got it. It would be not and but. Okay. So... Okay, so that's the end of that section. Let's go ahead and... Let's go ahead and go to... This is the last one we're going to do. And this... The page is not loading on my end. It just... Part of it, this next part's missing. It's frustrating. Oh, wait. No. Okay. Okay, so let's go to... Let's go to coordinating conjunction exercises. Okay, so number 1. My car has a radio, blank a CD player. Okay, who's making a lot of noise in the background?
It's gone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and start and this will be our last one, I promise. Okay, coordinating conjunction exercises. So, and let me just post the link again, just to make sure that everyone can access it. If you already have the link open, you don't need to click on it. Okay, so last one. And this one we should be able to do entirely. There should be no conjunctions here that no one is unfamiliar with. Okay. So, number 1. My car has a radio, blank, a CD player. So what would that one be? Yeah, and that's correct. Okay. My car has a radio and a CD player. Okay. Number 2. Sharon hates to listen to rap music. Blank, will she tolerate heavy metal?
Hello.
Huh? No, not but. It's not going to be but here. Because remember, there's something I said about one of these conjunctions requires inversion of the subject and the verb in one of the clauses. So, which one would this? There's only one here that would require that. Yeah, nor. That's correct. Sharon hates to listen to rap music, nor will she tolerate heavy metal. Okay. Number 3. Carol wanted to drive to Colorado. Blank, Bill insisted that they fly. So what would that one be? What would the best choice be? Yeah, but. It's but this time, yes. Carol wanted to drive to Colorado, but Bill insisted that they fly. Okay. Number 4. I'm afraid of heights. Blank, I appreciate the view from the top of this building. So what would the answer be for this one? Yes, very good, yes. I'm afraid of heights, yet I appreciate the view from the top of this building. Because you have two contrasting thoughts. Okay, number 5. I have to be on time. Blank, my boss will be annoyed if I'm late. So what would number 5 be? Oh, not quite. Try it again. It's not really nor. Four. Yes, that's correct. 4. I have to be on time. 4. My boss will be annoyed if I'm late. Because remember, 4 works in a similar manner to because, except that 4 requires a comma in front, because does not. Okay. Number 6. Do you like chocolate, blank, vanilla, ice cream better? So, which one would that be? For number 6. Yeah, it's or, yes. Do you like chocolate or vanilla ice cream better? Okay, number 7. I have to go to work at 6. Blank, I'm waking up at 4. So you're waking up at 4 to go to work at 6. So what would that one be? So, yes, very good. I have to go to work at 6, so I'm waking up at 4. So in order for something else to happen, this has to happen. So that's why we use so. Okay, 3 more questions and then we are done with these exercises. Okay, number 8. I was on time, blank, everyone else was late. So what would be the best one here? There's really only one choice here that makes sense. Yes, but. But is the only choice that makes sense. I have to go to work. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I was on time, but everyone else was late. Okay, number 9. Nadia doesn't like to drive. Blank, she takes the bus everywhere. So what would that one be? So, yes, good. Nadia doesn't like to drive, so she takes the bus everywhere. Okay, number 10, last one. Our trip to the museum was interesting. Blank, there were several new artifacts on display. And only one makes sense here. So what would that one be? No, not yet. Yet doesn't quite work here. For number 10. 4. Yes, very good. 4. Our trip to the museum was interesting. 4. There were several new artifacts on display. So again, it works in a similar manner to because. Okay. So that's all the exercises I'm going to do. I'm not going to cover conjunctive adverbs. I will briefly explain them in a moment, but that'll be it. Okay, but that's the end of the exercises. Okay, let me go ahead and quickly cover conjunctive adverbs. So, conjunctive adverbs. Let's quickly cover conjunctive adverbs. So, conjunctive adverbs are adverbs that in a way connect two ideas, or I should say connect two clauses. Connect two independent clauses. And I say in a way because to use a conjunctive adverb, you need two things. You need the adverb itself, of course. I should say three things. You need the adverb itself, a semicolon, and a comma. So, for example,
Hey guys.
Hello.
Who's the teacher?
I am. Team
Oh,
Angular 15.
okay.
I'm the teacher, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So Okay, so.
I think it's gone.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I passed it. Here, let me see. Let me here, hold on. Let me use this example. First, let me mention something. To use a conjunctive adverb, you need the adverb, a semicolon, and a comma. And here's how you would use it. Okay, so let me type that. Okay, so I passed all the tests, semicolon, therefore, comma, I passed the class. So that's how you would use a conjunctive adverb. So you can see that therefore is connecting two ideas, but it can't do that on its own, so you need a semicolon and a comma. Let me fix that a bit. There. Now the semicolon's bold-faced too. Okay, so that's one example. Another example would be thus. Let's see, thus. bad. Well, let me finish that anyway. Okay. I pressed enter too early. Okay, there. So, here we have another example, this time with thus. Set A is in set B, and set B is in set C. Thus, set A is in set C. So, thus here is being used to connect the first part of the sentence with the second part. And it works in a similar manner to therefore. When you're trying to, you use therefore and thus to show, like, to present a conclusion. So, you have a premise and then a conclusion. So you have the premises and then therefore you have the conclusion. So that's how therefore and thus work in this case. But these two aren't the only conjunctive adverbs there are. There are plenty more. I'll cover just one more and then that'll be it, because we don't need to cover all of these. So let's do however. That's a common one. Let's see. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, let me use this example. Okay. Let's use this example. My father was not happy with my behavior. However, he did not yell at me. So here we're using however to establish a contrast. So, in this case, the speaker was expecting his father to yell at him, but he didn't. So that's how you use however. You're expressing a contrast here. That something that you weren't expecting something to happen. Basically, something that happened should have. Something that happened should have happened, but something. No. Sorry. I'm just going in circles here. But basically, you use however to show that there was an unintended consequence. That's the best way for me to explain it. It's more that you expected something to happen, but it didn't, if that makes sense. Or that something that should have happened didn't. But you get the idea either way. I'm sorry, because, again, I wasn't initially trying to explain conjunctive adverbs. I just thought of it last minute because I was just focusing on conjunctions themselves. I would have had better examples ready, but you get the idea. Basically, however, is showing an unintended consequence. And that's really it. Okay. So, let me just go over everything, just do a summary of our topics. So we have 3 types of conjunctions. We have coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions, and subordinating conjunctions. And we also have conjunctive adverbs. So, to recap, we have 3 different types of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions, and subordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are used to join 2 independent clauses, or they can even be used to join 2 words. or phrases. Correlative clauses occur in pairs, so there'll always be a pair of conjunctions, and they can connect words, phrases, and clauses, just like coordinating conjunctions. And subordinating conjunctions, they go at the head of a dependent clause, and they are used to link that clause with another independent clause. And if you have, and let's see, what else? Sorry. Now we also have compound sentences, and then complex sentences, and then compounds, complex sentences. Okay, so compound sentences, two independent clauses. Complex sentences, one independent clause. And one dependent clause. And compound complex sentences would be at least two independent clauses and at least, I guess I should say complex sentences are one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. Let me do that. Whereas compound complex sentences are at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. There. So that's how I would phrase that. Because a complex sentence can have like two dependent clauses and one independent clause. We use coordinating conjunctions to connect independent clauses, so we get a compound sentence. Connecting one independent clause with a dependent clause will require a subordinating conjunction. But since a subordinating conjunction is part of the dependent clause itself, all you just have to do is put the clauses together. You don't need to put in an extra word, like with the coordinating conjunctions. And compound complex sentences will just have at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. So that's really the gist of this lesson. I can't think of anything else to talk about. We did some exercises. We went over everything here in my outline. So I guess that's it for today. Wow, that was long. Okay, that's just 3 hours. But anyway, yeah, that is the end of the lesson. So if you all want to go now, you can. And if you don't have any other questions, well, thank you very much for being here and for watching. Or listening if you're here. Watching if you're watching the recording. So with that, if no one has any other questions, I will go ahead and just stop the recording.